Want to know how to grow these massive squash plants in a small space garden? Well, you have come to the right place. Welcome back to Gingerfoot Garden. I'm Lani, and today we're diving into 10 must-know tips to grow summer squash. Before we get into that, let's talk about the difference between the summer and winter squash. Squash are plants from genus Cucurbita that produces edible fruits. They come into two main types, which are the summer squash and winter squash, each with unique features and uses. Summer squash are picked when they are young with tender edible skins. They grow in warm months and have a shorter growing season. Zucchini and yellow squash are some of the most common examples. Winter squash, however, are harvested when fully mature, with hard, tough skins. They have a longer growing season and can be stored for months, making them great for winter use. Common types of winter squash includes butternut squash and pumpkins. Tip number 1 is to choose compact varieties. I've only grown the regular size summer squash varieties like Black Beauty, Golden Yellow, and Lemon Squash, which is my favorite. But for small space gardens, bush or compact varieties such as Baby Bush, Zucchini, or Golden Yellow Squash are great options. I'm planning to grow those the following year actually. Tip number 2 is to use raised beds or containers. Plant your squash in raised beds or large containers. This allows you to control the soil quality and provide better water retention, essential for healthy growth. I love growing mine in my Vigo garden raised bed, which I link down below. Tip number 3 is vertical gardening. Train your squash plants to grow vertically using a sturdy stake, trellis, or cage. This saves space, improves air circulation and pollination, and it makes harvesting much easier. Tip number 4 is rich soil preparation. Ensure your soil is nutrient-rich by adding compost or well-rotted manure before planting. Squash plants are heavy feeders and thrive in fertile soil. I always amend the soil with a balanced fertilizer or potassium-rich slow-release fertilizer during transplanting. Tip number 5 is proper spacing. Even in small spaces, give each plant enough room to grow. Space your plants about 2 to 3 feet apart to ensure they have adequate light and air circulation. Tip number 6 is consistent watering. Water your plants consistently, aiming for about 1 inch of water per week. Make sure to water at the base to keep the leaves dry and reduce the risk of powdery mildew and other fungal diseases. Tip number 7 is mulching. Apply mulch around your plants to retain soil moisture, regular temperature, and suppress weeds. Organic mulches such as straw or wood chips work well. Remember not to overdo, as too much mulch can become a hiding place for pests. Tip number 8 is hand pollination. If there's a lack of bees in your garden and if you are unsure if the flowers are being pollinated, hand pollinate your squash flowers early in the season to ensure a good fruit set. Squash have male and female flowers on the same vine. Female flowers have a swollen structure at the base that look like a miniature squash. Hand pollinate, use a brush to transfer pollen from the male flower to the female flower, or remove the petals of the male flower and rub the pollen into the stigma of the female flower. Tip number 9 is regular pruning. Prune the lower leaves to improve air circulation and reduce the risk of powdery mildew. This also helps direct the plant's energy towards producing fruit. Find the flowers, reducing the need for hand pollination. Number 10 is pest management. Protect your squash from common pests like squash bugs and vine borers by inspecting plants regularly to get rid of their eggs. You can find the eggs underneath the leaves, on the stem, and even on the surrounding plants. I use duct tape to easily grab the eggs and then squash them. I pick the squash bugs and drop them in a jar with soapy water, which I keep close to my squash plants. The squash vine borer is trickier to deal with, especially if you're growing them vertically like I do. I prepare for succession planting. Once the plant becomes infested, I just cut it and start over. If your squash is sprawling on the ground, you might be able to perform a little surgery to remove the vine borer and simply cover the stem with soil to allow it to take root. By following these tips, I hope you can successfully grow healthy and productive summer squash plants, even in a small space garden. Thanks for watching and happy gardening! Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more gardening tips from Gingerfoot Garden. See you in the next one. Bye-bye!